I'll call this meeting to order. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item is public input, and we have Miss Martin for tethering, chaining of dogs.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the Town Council and City Government, and fellow citizens. Oh, that's better. Thank you. My name is Jean Martin. I live at 1410 West 6th Street and have been a resident of Silver City for 18 years. I am here this evening as a member of a citizens group concerned about the persistent tethering of dogs. Dogs which are chained, tied, or otherwise secured to a stationary object, not as a temporary measure to secure their safety, as may be necessary at an event or while briefly shopping, for example, but as a way of life, usually in their own yards. The practice of chaining, tethering dogs is inhumane to the animal. The Humane Society of the United States, the ASPCA, or the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, and Animal Protection of New Mexico are among the prominent organizations which condemn this practice. Some of the reasons, well documented, are as follows. Our concerns are threefold. Otherwise friendly dogs, when persistently chained, become bored, anxious, and likely to become aggressive. Dogs are naturally social animals who need positive interactions with humans and other animals. They are naturally protective of their humans and territory. Contrary to the belief of some property owners that a tethered animal will better protect them and their property, abundant evidence exists that such dogs are more often become fearful and frustrated. When feeling threatened and unable to get away, the dog's only choice is to growl, bark, lunge, or bite in self-defense. The most common victims of dog attacks are, not surprisingly, children. The New Mexico Department of Public Safety reports that during a 4-year period of between October 2003 and September of 2007, at least 175 children were killed or severely injured in New Mexico, some by the family's own dogs. These dogs are most often described as unsocialized and territorial of small space at the end of their chain. 2. Persistently chained, tethered dogs are frequently neglected as well. Left alone for long periods, they can become entangled and injured in their restraints, knock over their water even when it's supplied for them. They defecate in their small spaces. These animals are difficult to handle and control, making veterinary care for them less likely. They lack even minimal exercise for decent health and often have inadequate housing for protection against extreme cold and heat. 3. Persistently chained, tethered dogs become a burden to law enforcement. Bored and frustrated, they may bark for long periods, resulting in complaints to officers and animal control. Courts must often deal with incidents and unresolved complaints. Insurance companies pay out millions in damages resulting from injuries to humans. These are just a few of the major problems resulting from this all-too-common practice of dog restraint in Silver City. Others will be addressed in subsequent meetings, other topics, and other details. In closing, the following is a quote from Mahatma Gandhi. "The greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged the way its animals are treated." So thank you all for your attention, and those who are interested may find some resources from which some of this material has been taken over there on the table. Please help yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. And just a quick note, you came with some friends. You all agree with the same sentiment?
Oh, yes.
Just wanted to make that note. Thank you. Next is Lucy Whitmarsh, lighted Christmas parade.
Hello, councilors, mayor, city staff, and the public. I'm representing Silver City Main Street, and on November 29th, we have coming up the Lighted Christmas Parade. It starts at 7 o'clock on Broadway and comes down Broadway and goes over to Bullard Street, and we're going to end at Pope and College, where we're going to have our award ceremony. And we really need people to sign up to do floats, because that's an important part of the parade. And I do have applications over on the desk as you come in, and those are due by November 7th. And also this Saturday, coming up on November 1st, at the Visitor Center from 10 to 12, we have a workshop to help people be able to decorate their floats so that they can really sparkle and have a lot of light and win a prize. So we do have that coming up, and I wanted to let everybody know about it, and also hope that we can get a lot of really good participation. And then the other thing I did want to just mention is that this last Saturday, we had the All Souls race, which was up around Boston Hill, and it was a fundraiser for the Silco Theater, and it was a wonderful community event, but we could not have done it without the help of Public Works, the police department, and the fire department. Everybody was just really awesome, and we were all safe, and nobody got hurt, so it was great. So thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is council comments. Council Bedison?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank Ms. Martin for her comments. I just wanted to note for folks that are listening or that will be listening that our current animal ordinance does cover the tethering or persistent tethering or chaining of dogs, and to please contact the animal control officer if you see that there are issues such as access to water, the animal's wrapped completely around whatever the permanent object is and can't get out, or if there's any embedding of the chain or any other object into the neck. That is addressed, that is part of the animal control ordinance that we actually do not condone the tethering, persistent tethering or chaining of animals. So some of those actions, such as access to water and the embedding of the chain in the neck, and also the animal being wrapped around and not being able to get anywhere, that's part of the cruelty to animals. So please do contact the animal control officer to call the non-emergency number, please, at the Grant County Dispatch. Because we really need to take care of things like this, and folks that are willing to stand up and witness and be witness to it, that's the only way that we can really encourage people to conform to taking care of their animals properly. So, thank you again. No, this is council comments. Thank you. Painting stripes on, you can always talk to me after the meeting if you'd like to. Painting, I have a question for Mr. Brown. I've noticed some issues with our resurfaced streets, with people not necessarily knowing where they're supposed to be when they want to turn left, like on 12th. I know that we talked a little bit about this beforehand, so you have a plan to repaint the stripes?
Yes, I believe Peter has already scheduled a contractor to come in and do the street striping, and so they will be striped within the next month. Okay.
Thank you. And then, as I had mentioned to you earlier, I noticed that our new lane divider, Swan, near the CVS, which is just south of 180, folks don't know it's there, or they don't necessarily see it, and they get hung up on it. And I recommended that it be painted a bright yellow or something be done to it immediately so that people can see it.
Yes, so we are going to paint it a fluorescent yellow, and as well as put in some of those fluorescent those standing markers within that median so that people can get used to it. I mean, see it and get used to it, because even knowing it's there, I almost hit it today. Yes, that was identified last week at our engineers meeting, and so I'll call Peter and see where that's at.
Yeah, now that the CVS is open, I've already seen several incidents, and I think some of the other counselors may have as well, just with people not realizing until it's too late that it's there. So, okay, great. I also wanted to remind everyone that anything and everything you ever wanted to know about the Open Meetings Act will be presented at the Open Meetings Act workshop, which is free, this Thursday from 1 to 5 p.m. in the Student Memorial Building on the campus of Western New Mexico University in the seminar room. The presenter is going to be Randy Van Vleck, who is the Chief Counsel for the New Mexico Municipal League. The New Mexico Municipal League, WNMU, the Town of Silver City, and the Council of Governments, they're all sponsoring this. And we encourage anyone in the public and all elected officials, all public officials to attend if they so desire. And if you'd like to get a reserved spot at one of the tables, because it'll be set up classroom style, we have 50 reserved spots, and please call Priscilla Lucero at the Council of Governments. I'm sorry I don't have the phone number, but I know that I didn't write it down before I came. So I know that if you call Ann Mackey, the town clerk, she can provide it. If you call me, I will provide it as well to you. And I think it's also posted on our website, so that if you go to the Town of Silver City's website, you'll find out about the workshop and who to call. So if they say that all the 50 seats are taken, we'll still have seats around the outside that are not going to be, with a desk, but if you feel comfortable taking notes, if you want to do so on your lap, I encourage you to come and sit in one of those seats. So we haven't had the Attorney General's office come down for quite some time, and so that's why all of us together thought that it would be great to be able to provide this. The Open Meetings Act applies to all different sorts of bodies. The only difference is in what things you can go into executive session for. But the gist of the Open Meetings Act is the same, making sure it's that sunshine sort of law. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows that that's available, and please do come. And please do register. At least it's free, just, to do a reservation, because I can see it now. It'll be so full that we won't be able to move in there. But that would be a good thing, too. So Randy's an excellent teacher, and I hope people will come. So thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it.
Councilor Raymond Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have two things. Maybe three things. First of all, is in July, I had my first conversations with a counselor for District 2, and I had a wonderful experience with citizens and promised that I would have another one. And the next one will be on November 19th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. at the university in the Student Memorial Building, top floor, meeting room 3. And I'll make sure that there are various announcements in various publications. But it's an opportunity to talk. I like that. And I'm going to have a special discussant that night, and that will be revealed later on. Second thing is the digital literacy program, as part of the big push that we have here about looking at internet use and broadband. There's going to be an open house at the library this Thursday. Thursday is an action-packed day. And that starts at 5 p.m. right after the Open Meetings Act workshop finishes. So rush down from the Open Meetings Act to the library, where we're going to have a number of demonstrations and discussions about how the internet can make your life more fabulous. And I guess the third thing, want to do this together?
Yeah.
Thank you for the bags.
Our new bags.
This will be the new bags that the town will be passing out. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Ray?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to commend on people from Silver City, from Grand County, because Silver City has a lot of different activities going on at different times, different types. And I want to implore the people to go to them, support them. It doesn't matter what kind of an activity they have, go and support them. Also, Western New Mexico University, I think that the people from Silver, from Grand County, have to support Western more by going to their games. They support us, let's do a little bit of support on them. Another thing is that I am proud of the people that have been running for office here in Grand County. As you all know, in the state, there's been too much cutthroating, and I don't agree with that. And the people here have been running for office here, local offices, they haven't been doing that, and I like that. I like to just do it from the heart. The city has been doing a wonderful job on the cement work on Market Street and Pinos Altos, and they have been putting in a new sidewalk, and it looks very, very nice. And I want to commend the city work for doing that also. I would like to ask a question, if I may, Mr. Mayor, concerning the incentive program, the incentive review program. My comment is that I would like to see if it's possible for the people that are on the incentive review board to serve maybe 1 year or 2 years, and then have somebody else come in and do it. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have an announcement for an event happening on Thursday. It's a very busy day in Silver City. Just a reminder that the WNMU Center for Gender Equity grand opening for their center is on Thursday. It's from 11 to 2 p.m. at 1211 North Mississippi, and it's open to everyone. There'll be a light lunch served, and just come and support, like Councilor Ray said, come and support Western and the efforts that the students are doing towards gender equity. And also just a reminder that it is almost Election Day. Early voting continues now until Saturday, the 1st of November from 8 to 5 in the county clerk's office. And then on Tuesday, the 4th of November is actual Election Day, so from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. the polls will be open at several voter convenience centers. If you need to know where those are, you can look at the website for the county clerk's office or call them, and they'll be willing to let you know what's going on. So please remember to vote. It's very important.
Thank you, Councilor. Well, that was a lot of stuff, so I'm running out of things to talk about. But I will just mention when we're dealing with the public input and council comments, the public input. We've had criticism, other governments have had criticism of a lack of interaction between the governing body and the public when we have public input. And there's a purpose, and a very important purpose to that. And it has to do with open meetings, in many cases, what we're going to be educating ourselves even further on. And what it is if something hasn't been published, we need to be very, very careful not to get into a debate, especially something that leads to potential decisions when it wasn't advertised. So in many cases, we sit here, we listen, and we appreciate it, and we implore everybody to give public input. And then afterwards, almost as Councilor Bedison mentioned, then that will lead to further discussions after the meetings, which will help lead to posted discussion and appropriate action. So I do want to convey to those who do give public input that we appreciate it. We want you to continue. Us not engaging into debate or not asking questions, please don't take that as disinterest on our part or anything like that. It's very important. We need to hear from you, but we will avoid getting into a debate and potential decision-making process on an item that wasn't posted. So just want to make that clear. And also, when we have the council comments, the councilors oftentimes will ask questions of staff for clarification and to help aid in operating the town, but we will, even in that case, we're avoiding anything that may lead to policy changes or anything like that. So just wanted to add that. Outside of that, did anybody need round two? Councilor Bettison?
I just, two things. Please, if you ever have anything you want to talk to me about, there's a phone number on the website, and there's also an email address, so that if you can't wait till after our meeting to talk to me, please call me, and I will respond. Everybody knows that I do respond. It may take me 1 or 2 days, depending on what's going on at work, at the other job that I have. But I will respond to you and ask you to call me back, or we can meet somewhere when I'm not working at my other job. I also just, I know we did this together, and I couldn't believe that I forgot. I just really want to say thank you to P&M, the town, and the Volunteer Center for the funding for these bags. They are very, very nice, and I know that Dr. Timmy's going to hopefully say something in the reports about how we might be distributing these. So if you are in the room and you haven't picked one up, don't forget to pick one up on your way out. But no, these are beautiful and will actually last a long time. So thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Anybody else need round two? Councilor Ray?
I forgot to mention also that I am doing something different, and I am with CATS TV, and so far I have introduced or interviewed the Western New Mexico students, and I ask them questions, and in no way do I mean to demean anybody, and it's been a lot of fun with them. And these are kids that we need to listen to them, because sometimes we learn from them. Not just because we're up here that we know everything, we don't. We have to listen to them because they have some ideas. I think they're entitled to their ideas also. So with that, I hope to do some more interviewing, and also I will interview some of the professors, if possible, if they let me, and the students, athletes. Thank you.
Thank you. Any changes to the this mammoth agenda? Approval of minutes?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Bettison?
I move to approve the revised minutes presented this evening of the regular town council meeting of October 14th, 2014.
Second that.
We have a motion and second to approve the revised regular meeting minutes for October 14th, 2014. Is there any discussion?
No, sir.
We have a motion second as read into the record. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is reports. First report is by Krista Bolt. Presentation on the 2012 Community Assessment Survey.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Town Council, Town staff. It's a pleasure to finally come before you and give you some of the information. I believe you already have a flash drive that you received. Excuse me. This evening, you also received a copy of the Community Resource Directory, which is one product that the Health Council has done as a deliverable, and our Senior Resource Directory. When we complete the others, which will be a disabilities, a behavioral health, and judicial, we'll get those to you as well. But the main thing that I wanted to do tonight was just let you know, because you do have in your packets, I believe, the fact sheet from Silver City. The town of Silver City was one of 9 communities that was actually surveyed in our 2012 survey from the Health Council, where we had 5,055 respondents, which was a state record. We beat Bernalillo. It was a really good thing. So it took quite a while for us to get the survey done, receive the data, compile the data, actually segregate it into reports, and what I'd like to just briefly go over with you tonight is what you received from Silver City. I'd also like to acknowledge Mr. Brown, who is a member of our Grant County Community Health Council, and he represents the town of Silver City. And the town of Silver City has been a great partner to the Health Council on all of our priorities, so thank you. Silver City actually is the sheet that you have in front of you. Can see, it was a large part of that 5,055. It was actually 63%. We had 3,213 respondents that self-identified as being within the boundaries of the town of Silver City. Of course, you can read all of this for yourself. I just want to go over the graphs and give you a little comparison with the county. If you go down to the very first graph there under community and social health, you'll see that the top three things that popped up from your constituents are, first, as affordable housing, substance and alcohol abuse, and driving while intoxicated. It's not unlike the other communities, just maybe a little different ranking, but of course the numbers that the town respondents have really drove a lot of the data. And the next category is community and social health for children and teens. You can see the top concern of these respondents was activities for children and teens. And believe me, you have heard of some of the things the Health Council is doing. Probably one of the most recent was the 101 things for youth to do in Grant County, culminating with the Tikis and Tacos at Baton. We're pursuing that, and I firmly believe that that will become a fixture in this community. And then after that, again, we have substance abuse, and that's just appearing everywhere. There's no qualms about that, of saying that. It's just a truism. And gang violence was the third one under community and social health for children and teens from respondents in Silver City. To the right is environmental health. Very first one, road conditions. And that, countywide they're responding, but these are your folks from Silver City, and a lot of them. Wildfire danger and water quality, quantity, and Gila River management. Down to the bottom left, access to health services, and this again mirrors many of the other communities and the county as a whole. Healthcare insurance, what to do about that? Do you have access to it? How do you get it? Can you afford it? Those are the issues. Medicaid, Medicare, and private insurers. Access to local specialty care providers, that always seems to come up. You know, it's a very difficult situation being where we are, but I believe that we have a number of specialty care providers that do some very basic specialty services for us, but it's still an issue for many people in many communities in the county. And the third, again, is substance and alcohol use treatment. Moving over to the last one on economic health. The very first one is workforce development, including living wage jobs. You can see that was 53% of those folks ranked that as the very first thing. The second, job skill training, and that includes, these are just examples, office skills, learning about work ethic and what that means in modern day workplaces, and phones, etiquette, that sort of thing. And then the third, surprisingly, was homelessness. People saw that as a tremendous problem and need here in the town of Silver City, as well as in the county, for facilities and services. Just to tell you how it compared to the county quickly, and then talk a little bit about the resources you received. For the county, community health and social, it mirrored exactly. It was almost the exact same percentages, actually. Affordable housing is one, first, substance and alcohol abuse, second, driving while intoxicated, third, so right in line there. For the county, for the county, for community and social health for teens, again, mirrored. Activities for children and teens. Substance abuse and child abuse and neglect was the third one that was countywide, and of course we had 8 other communities offering, but Silver City was 63% of these respondents. Environmental health for the county, the top 3 were road conditions, wildland fire danger, and water quality, quantity, and Gila River management. Access to health services, the very same. There's very little difference. Healthcare insurance, access to local specialty care and substance abuse and alcohol treatment. The very final one, economic health, workforce development, same, job skill training, and homelessness, mirroring exactly the same. It's not surprising, given the the percentage of respondents from the town that kind of drove some of the data, but it was reflected throughout the county. I can tell you in the 8 other communities, not a whole lot of difference, and everybody sees some of the same things. Do you have any questions about that I may answer at this point?
Councilor Edison?
Thank you, Mayor. I have yet to look at my little thumb drive, unfortunately, but I was wondering if on these, I'm trying to remember because I did take the survey, but it's been a while, so a couple years have passed, but on these graphs where we have large blocks where it says under like environmental health, road conditions, and it has wildland fire danger, and then under water, quality, quantity, and Gila River management. Are those broken out?
They are, and that's actually something that we can offer to you. We can segregate the data further for you if you would like. All you have to do is contact us, but on your flash drive, everything that you have on your flash drive is the complete profile, which is this data came from all of that, as well as all of the fact sheets, as well as your community resource directory, so you can access it online. The senior resource directory, that little thing's full of a lot of information for you. And so, yes, we can do it further, but if you want to take a look, and then if there's further service we can be of you to you, please don't hesitate to get in touch, because we can do a little bit more if you ask. And the whole idea of presenting this to all of these communities, the municipalities and Tyrone and Nimbres, is to give you information that you can use for grants, for planning, for anything that you choose to look at. It's your information. We did it, and now we're saying, this is yours. Tell us how we can help, but this is for your use. Yes, ma'am.
So, as it says that we would need to, and as you've mentioned, we would need to call or email and ask for any specific information, since we can't really go to your website and do our own little drill down of the information. Okay.
That's correct.
All right. And I think that that's important for, not only for us, but for anyone out there that might be writing grants, to know that they can call and ask for assistance to get the information they need to answer questions that grants that they may be applying for may be asking. So it's helpful. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Quickly, this will add a lot of value to grant writing and such like that, and also further planning. Is the council looking to do take any type of action in this regard, as far as using this data to further your goals and objectives? Most likely in education, I would speculate.
Yes, we have 4 priorities that were actually derived from this, and since the Health Council is actually the Wellness and Planning Wellness Health Authority for the county commissioners signed off on the plan, which includes the 4 priorities that popped up from this. Very first one is family resiliency, and that has 2 issues. That's early childhood as well as senior issues. Then we have substance abuse. That's kind of the big thing, because it's everywhere. And of course, you know about the planning for a regional treatment facility in the future here located in Silver to deal with this, and many partners in that. We also have our Youth Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition through our Partnership for Success grant. That is what produced 101 things, as well as that was a very clever strategy, actually, and we have a number of other strategies within that grant, that is a state grant, that will be forthcoming. So it's youth and adult. And then we have community health and safety, and that includes the disabilities, and that popped up as disabilities. And There will be probably in a few weeks a rollout of the new Disability Resource Center that actually Mr. Brown was very instrumental in helping get up and going, and it will actually be opened as a resource center for parents, for families, for Western. That will address that. And then the last one is domestic violence and sexual assault, and we're working with, and that's bullying and domestic violence and sexual assault. And that's not just school bullying, that's bullying in the community, wherever it may be. And we're working with a couple of community groups with MOUs to the people that actually do the work in the community we're trying to partner with. So for those 4 priorities will be our priorities for the foreseeable future until another survey is done, probably 2017, right around there. So yes, we have a plan, and that is also on your jump drive. You will see it.
Any other questions? Thank you, Kristen.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity.
Staff reports.
Okay, I'll go ahead and start. First of all, I want to let you know that the lights at Scott Park are going up. They started today, finally. We will be putting the bid out for the concession stand to be awarded in December. So we're moving fairly quickly on that, hoping that it'll be built and ready before the league and all that stuff starts. We're continuing work on the F Street sewer line that was awarded by the council, the Blackhawk sewer line. We will be putting the phase 2 of Silver Street out to bid, as well as the CDBG project, which is a 12-block street project on Chihuahua Hill. All those will be put out to bid early January. The funding is all secured. We're just waiting right now so that we can put them all out together at once and hopefully getting the best bid price on that. And then we also have another, let's see, the belt filter press, the Colonias project that we got funded. We should have those contracts in there, so if you can be watching for them here pretty shortly for the belt filter press and Silver Street. Then we've got the clubhouse. They started on the clubhouse, the funding that we had just acquired. They're starting that at the golf course. The police cars, they're actually going for them tomorrow. So all the funding that we just secured, about 6 months ago, it's all being spent. And most of those apply to some of the needs that you just heard about. So next, I'd ask Terry if you'd please give a short report on the recycling. Oh, do you have any questions?
Councilor Benson?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Brown, I have a couple questions. I'm not sure, did you say anything about the pool liner?
Oh, the pool line is already completed.
Okay.
It's already done.
And then, do you have, can you briefly just say how our GRT and lodger's tax are doing?
GRT has been lagging. We're about 7% below what our projected revenues were in the budget right now. I'm not too worried about it though, right now, because I did not include any projected revenues that we were going to receive from the bridge project. And we'll be receiving about 5 months worth of that funding during this fiscal year. I was hoping to use that to help build the reserve, but it should offset what we're seeing now. Unless it gets too bad, then I'll come back and discuss some options. The revenues for the sanitation fund are almost right on. The water sewer fund, they're actually doing a little bit better than what I expected. So it's created some real stability, the rate structure, the way that we changed it. So that's doing good. Lodger's tax is actually right on what we projected.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councilor Ray?
Mr. Brown, any word on when they're going to start on the Hudson Bridge?
They awarded the funding just recently. They already awarded the project. I don't know to who, but it's scheduled to start the beginning of January.
Mr. Raymond Smith?
Thank you, that was a question I had too. Mr. Brown, I had an email from a constituent today asking about the Blackhawk project and when it might be nearing completion.
I believe they're looking at about a month and a half. It's been really slow digging because they're digging through a rock basically up there. That's been one of our biggest struggles. We had a rock clause in the last bid award. It's 100% grant, so we haven't had to come up with any money. The Office of Natural Resource Trust, who's been funding it, just recently sent us a PO to increase the funding because of the rock clause. I think it was almost $200,000. So that's been a nightmare as far as rock, but like I said, it's 100% grant. And I know some of the issues is about the cleaning of the road and stuff like that. Robert has been on the contractor about making sure that they clean up a lot quicker than what they have been.
Thank you, that's the next thing. So before Christmas is our hope. Thank you.
Terry?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council, staff. Terry Timmy with the Office of Sustainability. Wanted to echo Councilor Bedison's comments about thanking you for providing funds along with P&M and the Volunteer Center to supply the town and all residents with these reusable shopping bags to help go along with the enactment of the ordinance which will outlaw plastic bags in Silver City, single-use carry-out plastic bags. We have a plan now to distribute these primarily through the City Hall at our office. They're available for people to come in and pick up. Our office is located at 1106 North Pope Street. And then also we'll be doing limited distribution through community service volunteers throughout the town. And I just want to also acknowledge that the Girl Scouts are going to help hand out these bags over the Thanksgiving weekend and at events such as Tamale Fiesta. And so we'll be handing these out throughout the community to all people who will then be able to use those to replace plastic bags that they're now using. And also the Girl Scouts inserted into, we got over 7,000 of these bags in, and last weekend the Girl Scouts inserted recycling guides and a tip sheet on how to use these bags into every bag. So Girl Scouts have been phenomenal support for the distribution and handout of these bags. And I'd entertain any questions you would have at this time.
Any questions for Terry? Thank you. Any other staff reports? Mr. Marshall?
This is James Marshall. You all know him. He's the new assistant town manager. He's been on the job for 2 weeks and a day. So I wanted to give him the opportunity to give a report on some of the things that he's been doing. He came on the job to help us with some efficiencies and to get some more community output and work better with the community. And so, James.
Mr. Mayor, Council, Alex introduced me, so I won't repeat that, but I really want to thank the town staff and my new co-workers. They've been great welcoming me and making sure that my transition is very smooth. I also want to thank Councilor Raymond Smith, who has pretty much worked with me from day one. She's got an amazing background in the work that I'm tasked with doing, and that's been very, very helpful. So thank you, and we'll continue. Mr. Brown assigned me 4 immediate priority areas: the police department, fire department, community development, and doing some of the community outreach work. And interestingly enough, there's really 4 different reasons for those assignments. They're not any one particular cause. And in the last few weeks, we have developed a process and documents that are being tested in the police department first. The police department is an amazingly complex department. I have learned through interviews with sergeants and higher in the chain of command. Through this process, we have identified driving forces, opinions, perceptions, strengths, and opportunities. Through the process, the chief was able to identify and adjust immediately some areas that came up. We'll call those some low-hanging fruit. The chief identified an initial project and worked through the process to ensure resolution of a safety issue that had developed, and it is now hardwired into the police department to ensure that it doesn't reoccur. And all the documentation is in place so we can actually prove that we analyzed the situation and have a good solution. The chief has begun a second project, and it is going to be a little more complex, and that's by design, that as we go through the process and work with the different departments, the complexity of the projects will get more and more difficult, and so does the process to resolve them. Working with the fire department and their new leadership, we're modeling the department administration and to ensure effective and efficient leadership. I've interviewed some of the firefighters, and it appears the department is doing very, very well. And prior to me coming along, there had been some actions taken to ensure that was the case. Doing similar work with community development for a very different reason, we've begun a modeling process to ensure effective and efficient operations in the department as it goes through some significant changes in the coming months. Additionally, I've connected with the Continental Divide Trail Group on some signage issues that they're working on to improve signage and designation of that trail. Working with Gary Staley regarding a program that he is working with JPPO kids that have community service. The goals of the program are to utilize the opportunity to connect with young people and ensure that we improve the skills and capacity of the young people at the conclusion of the community service obligation that they have. Additionally, we're connecting with the Health Council, who just presented to you, on their Public Trees for Public Health program, and we've had one meeting, and we have another one scheduled. And also working with the fire department on the community wildfire protection plan and the community input needs of that plan. In the next month, I'll also be attending 2 more additional community meetings, and one with the chief and one that was announced earlier. So with that, I'll stand for question.
Any questions? Councilor Amistad?
So you've been pretty busy.
It has been very busy.
So I just have a question. What have you learned? Are there any congruencies between the areas that you're working on, so that there's kind of an overarching meta issue that you're going to be working with through your various processes and tools?
That's a very good question. Probably the overarching issue is that all the departments are doing amazingly wonderful things for this community, and there is an extremely dedicated staff that works for the town. What historically we have not done well is be able to develop documents and goals and measurements that prove that we're doing wonderful things and distribute it to the public so that the public knows that their tax dollars are being put to good use in an efficient, effective manner.
Thank you. So I understand what you're saying is that evidence-based management and then communication of that to the public so that there's an opportunity for discussion and knowledge all around is the big thing.
Very well said.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. Any other staff reports? Police department? No? Moving on to new business. Next item on the agenda is a presentation by, is it pronounced Yesco? Yes. Regarding the water meter radio read system.
Mayor and Council, as I've been discussing throughout the whole budget process and over the last few months, I've been talking about us looking at the radio read converting to the radio read water meter system. We've been working with different meter companies, looking at different types of meters, and we've also been working with YESCO, which is a company that uses performance contracting to... I'll let them get into it during the presentation, and then we'll answer questions there. But this all has to do with the water metering and the next step to work towards the goals of the water conservation plan. So with that, we've got Scott Griffith, Colby Gear, and Don Schuler. I'm glad you guys put these names out here because I forget. And then we have Chris McNeil from the Meters Department, the foreman from the Meters Department, for any questions. So if you want to go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and Town Council. And you have an amazing town staff, I have to tell you. They're amazingly great people. So I came here tonight to share with you guys about a project that we've been looking at with your city, and it's really a joy to do this. Learning your community. I'm from Grants, New Mexico, so I can tell you that as another mining town that is not mining anymore, it's a real privilege to be here. I visited here a lot as a kid, and so I really enjoy coming to Silver City a lot. It was a lot prettier to me than Grants was at the time. So what I'm here to talk about is in New Mexico, we have a way to procure upgrades for cities and counties, and it's called energy performance contracting. And it's not been as popular in New Mexico for several reasons because of state statutes, and the statutes have now been changed. And so it allows for a really unique procurement methodology to procure projects, and it's a real legitimate and very interesting way to do it. So let's see if we can get this thing to work. So what I'd like to do first off is just introduce you to who is YESCO and what are we. So YESCO is actually a fully owned subsidiary of Year Out Mechanical. It's the largest mechanical in New Mexico. We've been around, and it's in your packages there. We've been around for over 50 years. It's a family-owned company. And Year Out has outstanding background and very disciplined projects all over the state. And we have 500 or so employees in New Mexico. And so we're a very proud, homegrown New Mexico company. I'm Scott Griffith. Again, I'm with the Solutions Sales Department. Colby Gear is our manager, and Don Schuler is actually the one that performed your water audit. Over the last several months, we've been doing some studies to see what our effects would be in taking a look at things. So what is energy performance contracting? And that's kind of the process. We wanted to really do a quick explanation for you tonight. And let's take a look here. So what it does is it is actually under the Public Facility Energy Efficiency and Water Conservation Act. That's NMSA 1978 Statute 6.23.1 through 10. And so what it is, it's actually sanctioned by the state, which is a really great thing. It reduces your water usage, energy usage, operating and maintenance costs, and also emissions and waste. But what it does is it essentially, as an ESCO corporation, we go in and we do an evaluation of your infrastructure, and we look at ways that the savings by changing it out can actually pay for it. So this project is actually going to not cost the city any money to do. The savings will actually pay for it to be done, and we guarantee that to be such. And as ESCO, we have to maintain that. The whole process is actually overseen by the state, and the state board that takes care of it is Energy, Minerals, and Natural Resources Department. So on our quick agenda here, what we want to do is basically run this real fast. Is the YESCO utility business proposition, what we've looked at, your local government challenges here, what is performance contracting and how does it relate to this particular project, the audit analysis that we came up with for the city, and this has cost nothing to the city at all. It's something that we came in and did, and what the next steps could be, and some recommended processes, and then we'll do a quick question and answer. So what we try to do more than anything else is the energy performance contracting modality is really a way that we actually partner with your utility companies to help develop solutions that are going to work. Right now, you have a lot of old water meters, and they're not registering correctly. Yes, sir. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. And part of it, what it does is it reduces energy operational costs, it enhances your revenue streams, and it preserves your capital. And all during the time we want to create the most safe water supply for your constituents. One of the things that we're seeing is that the challenges that, hard time seeing that there, the challenges are really energy efficiency inside the town. It's tough. And the cost of produced water is always going to be going up. Your cost to treat your wastewater is going up. There's a lot of error in reading of meters just because that's the science of it, unfortunately. I mean, meters have been about the same for the last 100 years. And the cost to read the utility meters is also rather high. And so what this helps you do is defer the capital improvements and also help with deferred maintenance. So what is it? So procurement through this is actually what we explained before. It's under the NMSA 1978 statutes, and the capital improvements on these projects are funded by guaranteed savings. And so what we've done is we've done a full analysis and audit of your systems and come up with an actual figure that is the fact that you're not gaining revenue because the meters are old. And so that's essentially what this project has been about. So in performance contracting, it's sort of where if you have let's say $1 million in project cost, and we're able to come up with a savings revenue amount of about $250,000 per million. We use that $250,000 to pay the project down. And so what happens is there's no upfront capital whatsoever to be expended by the city. It's budget neutral. It's absolutely a process where it's vendor neutral as well. We're looking at lots of different solutions in order to make this happen. And it actually takes the risk of upgrading your systems, and it puts it onto the ESCO, or YESCO as we're called, and not the city. So one of the things that is interesting about this process is that through the state statutes, we have to do everything according to their standards, which are AWWA water standards, and a performance contract is interesting in the fact that the savings or income streams are guaranteed. If they don't realize, then there's actually a payment that comes from the ESCO to the city if there's any difference. And one of the things that we had to do in order to do this project is we had to apply to the state EM&RD to even be able to do this project, to say that we were a qualified company to do it. So we were actually qualified 2 weeks ago when we showed them our findings. And so what's interesting is we're the only local ESCO in New Mexico and the only people that were given this approval. We were given this approval in 4 days. So we really did a lot of background work, and part of it is that we have a really great team here that has great success. Don Schuler has installed over 500,000 meters over his lifetime. I've been involved in about 40 projects in the Panhandle. So we're actually bringing this to New Mexico for the first time as a water project, but this has been done in Arizona and Texas and Colorado for about the last 18 years or so. So one of the things about performance contracting that is really a cool thing for the city is that it takes a lot of the financial risk out of it for the city itself. And where you're normally doing bid spec packages and things like that for a project, we're actually bringing third-party dollars to the table to get this done. And the fact that in New Mexico you can go up to 25 years on these projects. So that is a statute that the state has put out. That's not our rule at all. And so one of the things about performance contracting, once you come up with a figure for how much it's going to cost, you stick with that. It is not about the change orders and things like that. In fact, there are no change orders, because once you engineer the project, you stick by those figures. So one of the, let's see. There's a new mouse here. I've to train myself a little bit. So what this will essentially allow us to do, the contrast between traditional contracting and performance contracting, is that it will actually improve your utilities operation efficiency. It will decrease the cost of monthly meter readings. And it will also reduce the energy usage in your whole system itself. And so one of the things about it is we're able to go in, and what we've done is an extensive audit on your meter systems. We came in about 6 months ago, and we tested a lot of the meters to see how they were reading. And at the moment, they're about 92% misreading at this time. So there is a lot of savings to be had in the process. So one of the things another part about the challenge of self-performing projects is that there's no guarantee involved. And in a lot of the projects that are out there where people just come in and do a project, and this also aligns itself to street lights and building envelopes and changing out HVAC. I mean, these projects, I've done everything from a full school system to a meter project like this to working with a university in the same plane. So right now, this type of process is actually being done with NMSU over in Las Cruces with a company called Amoresco. So what we've done so far, real quick, is we put together a preliminary analysis. We're also on the CES procurement contract, so we also have some preliminary vetting that way from the company. And so what we're doing tonight is we're essentially going to tell you what the findings were from our audit study. So some of the solutions that we do work with from a municipal point of view is we work with wherever you have a bill or you're creating any type of funding. And so we work with, meters are essentially, water is a place where it's a lot of your bill, it's a lot of your funding for the city, so it's a very important part of the process. So what we did is we went through and we did a meter audit of your meters, and we actually took them out of the ground, as you see here. And this is going to show you more or less how they work. And what happens is the meters end up getting gunked up, and they end up, just because water has a lot of impurities to it, they end up compromising quite a bit. This just shows you some of the examples of what we pulled out of the ground. And how, there's a lot of collection. And what happens is then they don't read properly, and then what's happening is you're not billing, you're delivering more water than you're billing for. So what we're proposing is, what would a possible solution look like? And so what the idea would be, and what Alex and his team looked at, was to do what's called a drive-by meter system, which means the meters actually will be taking 5-minute increment readings of that household or that business, and then they'll drive by in a truck, and it'll read the meter automatically, and it will be able to tell what's happening. And so, for instance, if there is a leak, they'll be able to see it immediately as they're driving by. If they need to get more information, they actually go into the software and they can come up with an actual 5-minute grid of what's been happening with that house for the last 30 days. It's a great way to be able to understand what's happening and really conserve water. Because leaking is what kills everybody. People think it's people are overusing. No, it's leaking. That really hurts. And so one of the things about a drive-by application is it really allows you to really see what is happening within your system. And you really have to your hat's off to these meter readers over the years that have gone and getting bitten by dogs and snakes and everything else. This actually, they don't have to leave the truck to understand this. It's a much safer way to go. It's much more accurate, and it really allows to create a lot more revenue with the systems you already have. So what we did here is, this is what we discovered at the end of this venture so far. And right now, we took a look at, if I get to see around that hole right there, let me get this here. There we go. So, the total revenue recovery we can do from your billable over a period of a year is around $295,000, and that is water that you're delivering and you're not billing for, and this is just based on meter accuracy only. This is your average bill water amount is 690,000 kgals. Your water production recovery, what would save on this is about 42,000. This is with meter accuracy now of new meters being 99%. Right now they're about 93. It's the current rate. This has been skewed to what's happening right now, not the rates from 2 years ago. And with the way this works, the guaranteed generation that we can do for revenue is around $237,000 per year. That can be put towards buying new meters. And that's really a stunning number. And so, but what that means is this is no one's fault. These meters compromise naturally. This is what happens. And the big thing that's happening with small towns is they don't have the money to do this all at once. You're doing a little bit at a time. And what's happening is you're not really gaining any further. So what's happening, you have one area leaking over here, and this one's, you can't see it. So this is about changing them all out at once and being able to realize those savings within it. We actually figured on the 6,500 meters or so that we could switch out or so, plus all the commercial meters, that you'd be able to do it in about 6 to 8 months. So what that leads to, this is an interesting figure. The state says you can do a project for the useful life of an item. The useful life of this item is really probably around 30 years, but because there's a battery involved and they run around about 25 years, we just took 22 years as a number. If you took the guaranteed savings amount and you said you could run it for 22 years, you'd have an amount between $5,200,000 to almost $5,700,000 if you ran it that long. And you don't have to do that. That's not what I'm just discussing it through the state statute. That's an allowable figure. Now, the project would probably be 70% of that cost to do, so it'll pay off in a lot faster. Now, we have not derived which particular meter program's going to work yet. Alex's team and Chris and everyone's doing a lot of work to look at several different suppliers that are going to, meet. And since we would be guaranteeing it as a energy services company, we really have to make sure the state is also, the state's involved in every process as we do this. But the interesting side was that's a lot of dollars that don't come out of your budget today that could actually be reallocated to pay for these meters. That means, we would guarantee that revenue figure comes back to pay for it. Yes, ma'am.
So you're going to guarantee $237,000, not $237 million, which is what you have. You have 3 extra zeros.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that would be nice with that much, but...
There's a million. Okay, whoops, I guess I got a little bit let me pull some zeros out there. Okay. Uh-oh. I guess I got a little excited. So basically what we've done so far is we've surveyed all your large meters. We've developed a statistical model on your residential meters, and to develop that these numbers are right now. And so the next step would be to develop what is the solution, and to we've looked at various water meter companies. We do not promote, we're total vendor neutral. We want to get the right solution for the city. And so we've been working with what you already have in the ground. There's a couple of solutions that we can actually repurpose some pieces, some of these meters you've already reinstalled. There's a lot of variations here we can take a look at, but the bottom line is the investment grade audit that we do is you can take it to the bank. That's how good these audits are. And then the other part is that the state reviews all of these baselines and numbers, the EM&RD, and the state water engineer will review all these numbers and verify them. So it's not like we just, smoke and mirrors, we came out of the air with these numbers. And we've already done some preliminary work with the EM&RD to look at these preliminary figures, and they felt very good about them, enough that we could come and talk to you about them. So where we are right now is, and again, all of this is designed to be of no upfront cost whatsoever to the city. So we've done a lot of work with Alex and with I know him now, so with Mr. Brown to really try to figure out what the actual realized savings number could be. And what we've come up with, I think, is also very conservative in the process. So that's how you get in contact with us there. So any questions? Councilor Benson.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a number, so bear with me as I go through. I know that some communities already have the drive-by meter system, and I know that you said you're vendor neutral. And my concern is that there's been some issues that, batteries go bad even if they're supposed to survive for 30 years. And so in doing this, I guess part of this would be really the municipality's responsibility would be to ensure that if someone called and said, well, last month I had a $50 bill and this month I have a $4,000 bill, that there may be something, not necessarily a leak, but it could also be maybe something wrong with the new meter itself or the reading, because there are glitches in reading, and we're just like Arizona, highly volcanic area with a lot of rock that can kind of mess with the magnetics of anything and with readings. So I was just wondering, in looking at the various vendors, you would hopefully recommend a vendor that has more reliability, and then hopefully, I know that part of this in reviewing the results would be and you have the measuring and verifying, that part of this would making sure that what we do at the town would be more responsive. I would like to see something that when we do this and we actually integrate using a system like this, that we're responsive and tell folks, it looks like you've got a leak,
Well, just to give you some information, myself, Chris, Anita, and some of the billing staff have actually gone to look at a few different systems. One was in Towson, one was in Fairfield. They're completely different. With these types of systems, right now, all we're talking about is how we're going to pay for it. And basically what's being said is they're going to guarantee that we have the money to pay for it. And they feel very confident based on and I feel very confident based on the studies that they've done that can be done. There's a lot of different meters out there. We've had discussions about different ones. I think in the end, because they're going to make sure that meter is reliable for at least the term of the debt service, because if it's not, it's coming out of their pocket. And on the other hand, what we want is that we want it to be user-friendly, first of all, for our staff. Second of all, is water conservation. Yes, it's going to be, over the last year through our rate changes, we've seen that you change the rate, water usage goes down. You change the rate, it continue to go down this year. Well, we're not changing the rate now. We're just going to bill you for everything that you're using. And part of what we've looked at is, and that's what's going to pay for the meters and the software system. What we're looking at is, now what do? We want to make sure that we have a software system. We gather information that we can actually take to make very informed decisions with data to back it up. And the two that we've actually looked at, one, you drive by, you get the meter, the reading automatic, so you don't have those errors in entering the meter reading. I can tell you, I catch them all the time. I caught a $370,000 overbilling this last week, and one for $740,000 last billing, and it's just transposing numbers and stuff when you're entering. Well, we don't have that. We won't have that problem anymore, because it's just uploaded from the meter, downloaded back into the software digitally, so we don't have those errors. Where we really will see a true benefit to the community is, for instance, I'm going to talk about one specifically, is the one that Scott was talking about, where it takes a reading every 5 minutes. And actually it takes, every time you can upload 90 days worth of data, but you're only using 30 for the billing cycle, but you can get up to 90 days worth of data. Well, what we're going to be doing, and it informs you as you drive by, there's a leak here, or there's different types of situations. It can let you know about more than just a water leak. It can backflow type of issues and other types of issues. But if we so choose, we can pull up the data from that meter. Well, it'll flag everything. We get back to the office, we download, we do the meter reading. Well, right now we've got 4 meter readers. They spend 2 weeks a month reading meters, and then they spend 2 weeks turning waters. Well, of course they're turning waters on and off all month, and then they're doing maintenance. Well, when we change over, we're looking at reallocating some manpower to the utilities department, because water conservation is more than just the meter readers. It starts with things that we've been starting to do, which is leak detection. We've been doing that for a while, and it's starting to pay off. And then the large meter maintenance program, which Chris has been and Bess was working on prior, that has been paying off. Now we're down to what I think is probably the last step, which is ensuring that we have the most accurate information for both the customer and the town, and being able to gather that data so that our meter readers go from maintenance people to customer service representatives. So they're going to be able to read the meters in one day, and we're going to read the wells that same day, and so we're going to have a really accurate show of, if we've got some leaks within the system before the meters, to help us make some decisions there. We're going to be able to have the data from the meter reading, whereby it'll show there's a constant usage of water, so that shows there's probably a leak. On the other hand, now we'll be able to go out to provide service to a customer that says, okay, I've done everything I possibly can or I can think of to conserve water, because I don't want my bill to be so. This goes sort of like hand in hand with pay as you throw. We provided recycling, so that the more you recycle, the less you pay in your garbage bill. In this case, the less you use, the less you pay, but we're also providing you a service to help you use less. Because we can pull up your last 90 days worth of usage and say, okay, at 8 o'clock, you've got a big half hour, or 7 o'clock, you got a half hour spike here. At 3:30, you got a half hour spike here. Do you have kids? You tell them to take a shorter shower. One specific example, for instance, when we were in California, It was nice because we had the opportunity, they had done their change out manually. Their staff did it. But we were able to go with them while they read that route for the first time. So there was a lot of leaks in a lot of different places, and it gave different signals on showing it. But what they did was they stopped and pulled up. Okay, there's a leak here. They stopped and pulled it up on the computer screen, and they were able to show us this has got a half-gallon per minute leak, and it's because you've got a solid line at the bottom, and then you got the spikes when people are actually using it. Then we were driving by this other house that didn't have a leak, but the meter readers saw that they had a sprinkler system. So he said, you know what, let's stop here. I'll show you something here. He stopped and he said, okay, these people, they water at 8 o'clock in the morning and 8 o'clock in the evening for 15 minutes. And it shows you the whole thing. And so, we can help the customers. You perceive it at home, you don't understand it. And I think this is close to the last step other than replacing your toilets to low-flow toilets. I mean, we're giving you all the data that we possibly can get so that you can make that decision to whether you choose to conserve water or you choose not to conserve the water. It'll be up to the customer.
So to follow up, and I think it's probably more for Mr. Brown than it is for you, Chris, is that, the amount of money on an annual basis is considerable that we would be billing now. I mean, right? I mean, we're saving, but people, I think there'll be a rude awakening after years of maybe having, I don't know the last time the water meter on my home was ever changed. As far as I know, it's been there, for a really long time. So I guess the question I have is ensuring that we can pay for this. It also means, the public understanding, somehow working with the public so that they don't all of a sudden go, oh my God, it just went way up, and how can we work, with them?
I don't think that the meters that are in place right now are not losing that much water so that they're gonna see a huge jump in their bill. Because we bill in thousands of gallons, the majority of them probably won't see it but every other month. Because it's gonna be hundreds of gallons in most cases. We do have some meters that are 15 to 20, some pretty old meters out there, so in those cases, yeah, there's, even today, sometimes Chris will find a meter that hasn't been reading for a while, and he sees that they've got a nice green lawn. They go out and change the meter, and they get a bill. Mm-hmm. And, I had one, to give you an example of one resident, his meter stopped working for a while. Well, they caught it. And here we are 2 years later, and the residents telling me, well, am I still getting, my water bill as a whole is increasing. And I tell them, well, because we changed your meter this date, so you actually started getting billed for water. Well, it was right after the winter quarterly average, so their sewer rate they still weren't paying any sewer. They were paying the minimum. So the next year, their sewer rate went up because it started they paid it based on their water usage, so it went up that next year. Then we had the last two rate changes, so it actually changed over 4 years, even though they were using the same amount. But that didn't take into account for the last 4 years before that he wasn't paying any water. We didn't go back and ask him for that. And we're not going to ask the customer right now. We're not going to go back and say, well, we found out you're using 2,000 gallons and you've been using 2,000 gallons and you weren't reading anything for the last 10 years. We're not going to go back. We're just going to ask you to pay what you're using. And we're going to be able to show it to you. We have a lot of people that come in and say, well, I never had a leak. In Taos, this was brought up where a person, they could show when the leak started, and they could show when it ended during the month. So we wouldn't have seen anything from the meter reader because he's not out there but once a month. So with this type of system, we can tell you, with this 1 down to 5 minutes, we can tell you within 5 minutes of when your leak stopped and when you fixed it.
And I think, it's not that I'm not saying this isn't wonderful, because I think it meets the water conservation plan that it was passed by the council. It's going to really help us make sure that we bill for what is being used, and I think it will help the customer as well. I just think we need to make sure that we work, as you're saying, with our customers, with all the town's customers, to ensure, that they can pay for this if they find, if we find, okay, this is what you were paying, but now we have the new meter, and this is what you really need to pay, that we're trying to accommodate them as they adjust to that. And
just to sort of put this into perspective, is 2 years ago, we raised the rate by about an average of 9%. It was 5% on the tiers, and we decreased the 3,000 gallons down to 2,000 gallons. Well, just that alone decreased. It was an average of 9% rate increase. Water usage went down by 7.5%. So we only realized a 1.5% increase in revenue, and that 1.5% increase was around $200,000. So this really isn't. This is very conservative. It's actually a small number. Very small.
They're doing a great job with the water system. This is not like we're coming into this broken system. They're doing an extremely great job of it. So when we look at a 11.6% non-revenue water loss, is what we're looking at. That translates to these numbers. What happens is that's probably the worst case, that someone's bill might go up by 10 or 11%, but this is, remember, spread out over everything. So you're in fairly, really good shape. The problem is a lot of this old equipment out there is going to be failing and failing and failing, and it gets to the point where it's like not even worth fixing anymore. And so this ability, and I'll tell you, over in Texas and in Colorado's probably done 14 MUS projects in just the last 2 years, because it's a great way for a city to get upgraded. And the thing is, your water revenues are so important. And if you can't measure it, another thing we were talking about too is that when your customer comes in and they're all upset, because they see their water bill just flipped up, and it's, a lovely grandmother and their grandson left the water hose, running for the afternoon to fill up his pool, you can tell her when it happened. You can say, what happened on Saturday at 3:05, because it's taken every 5 minutes. And it might be able to help to also tell your constituents, that we want to help you conserve water. But if a problem happens, like let's say, for instance, you go by and you see a leak, and that's a house that maybe, someone that lives somewhere else, and you realize maybe a hose broke for the ice machine, or something happened with the water, you can actually help to alleviate a lot of damage for property as well. You're in a position where it's just going to get worse, because these older meters are just going to keep on, this will go up. And so when he was talking about the 1% bump being around, $200,000, the $237,000 is a very, very, we could start saying, oh yeah, we'll put leakage in here and we'll go fire water readers and la la la. No, this is just about accuracy. This is not about any of that. So a lot of people play those games. This is not about that whatsoever. This is really a conservative figure to help. And if you see multiplying this number out by 10 or 15 years, there's enough money to pay for those meters to get done. And that's really what we're trying to sort of, Alex and Mr. Brown, was, is it feasible? Is there a feasibility? Is there savings in here we could extract in order to make this project cash flow and make sense? And there obviously is quite a healthy project here.
Well, and I don't want many misunderstanding in terms of saying that I think that this is great. I think it's wonderful. This is, I voted for the water conservation plan. I was on the council when that came through. I think this is something we need to do. And I have to say, I admire our staff for all that they have done to renovate and to fix, and, to maintain the current water system, because we do deliver a lot of water to a lot of people. And, Silver City does a great job of doing that. I think it's 18,000 customers, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Based on the national average, we serve about 18,000.
And I think that when it comes right down to it, I think that everyone in our constituents will agree that this is really wonderful. I just want to make sure that we have processes in place, which I'm sure there will be, to work with our customers, which is really what is going to happen. They will be, our water folks will be changing into water customer service folks to help them.
Yeah, and over the last 2 years, like I said, we've had these rate increases. The first rate with the combination rate increase and the base change, and then this last year where you're billed for every 1,000 gallons. That's where the customers really saw a rate change. This time, they will see a customer service change. That's where the real change is going to be.
And I like you putting it that way. I think that is really what it's all about, and helping them. So, thank you, Mayor. That's all the questions I have.
Councilor Raymond Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When the water conservation plan was done, there wasn't a WWA audit included. There was something like that in there that said
Yeah, there was
WWA.
something done, but it wasn't nearly as extensive.
Because I had questions from constituents saying, how come we scored in the 60s out of 100? But if you looked at it, the reason in the water conservation plan, it was because we had pretty good measures of water supply, but the measures of water delivery were iffy. So this addresses that part of the equation, the supply and the demand equation. And I, as an operations person, I appreciate that process control thing. I have a question, though, probably more for Mr. Brown, and that is if we're going to be able to be getting actuals, does not that infer that we'll be able to be billing the actuals? So rather than in lumps?
Yes, we could. That we could do. I mean, I see it more as, as in actuals, because the per 1,000 gallons is only $3. Yeah, that we've changed so many things so quickly over the last few years. We could. I mean, we could look at it, but that actually gets into, to me, more of a cash flow issue. And I see, for instance, the mining district communities, they do it by the hundreds. We don't need to do that. Rather we'd just rather bill them at per 1,000 gallons, get the $3,000. I mean, 3,000. I'll take the 3,000, but $3 once every 2 months instead of $1.50 every month. So it's so, because it's so minimal, we catch up on that, and now, especially in this case, now we're going to be able to capture all of that. We're going to get the money. It's just, it may take a month or two. There are people that it takes 3 months to use 1,000 gallons right now. And that may go down to 2 months, but, so.
Thank you. I really am a strong proponent of gathering data and using the data in a comprehensive way. I just want to add one thing that hasn't been touched on, and that is that I like to go out and talk with my water meter guy when he's coming around and reading my meter, which is a hideous process. It's, he's got to haul this big old iron thing up, and he's got to get down on the sidewalk and look down there. And every time I see him do it, I think, oh, this is injury potential. So I should think that this would be a much more safe job for the folks who are doing it now to just drive by. So thank you very much for your presentation.
Very quickly on there's clearly a cost to putting this in, even if we have no immediate cost or even any future cost. There's still some sort of debt service. Based on some of your comments, I'm speculating it's between 3 and 4 million. And as far as that debt service, is that in the form of like a industrial revenue bond, or is it something that does come in and block any of our bonding potential or anything like that?
That's a great question. It actually does not block your bonding potential. It's considered conduit debt, which means in New Mexico it is. Okay, so how New Mexico got around this is there was a lawsuit, which you all know, I'm sure, called, Montano versus Galvadon, where it said y'all could not enter into any type of long-term contract without voter approval. So the state statute has written such that as we do this project, this is only for New Mexico, this is not for Texas, there's a reconciliation account that builds up over the time of the construction, which saves up that $231,000, and it goes into an account. And then as we get the savings the following year, we match it. Now, if we don't match it, right, then we owe you $20,000 difference. If you go above it, hallelujah, great, you're cash flow positive and that money's yours. So the way New Mexico has figured this out is you never go in debt for it because you have this reconciliation account, which is under the state statute required to do so. And that is how they're getting performance contracting back. Now, the people we had to get okay with it, you asked where the money comes from, is really, it's all third-party funded. And I would say that since we're guaranteeing the payback, we get incredibly great rates for dollars. And we don't make any money on financing. So if you looked at that, you don't go out for a bond on this. We actually bring in, and the state requires us to put out a RFQ for funding from various. But I can tell you the rates are pretty fantastic.
Is your company the named debtor, or is Silver City the named debtor?
The named debtor would be Silver City, because you're receiving. Yeah.
It's Silver City, but we're not pledging, our normal, we're not using our normal gross receipts taxes, property taxes, not even net system revenues are we using. We're using that, the fund that is set up, basically the fund is a set-aside fund. That is the guarantee for the payment. So it's like us when we borrow for a bond, we have to borrow the reserve fund. Well, they're putting aside the reserve fund, which is the annual payment. And then over this next year, we will generate from the additional revenue, we will generate revenue to build up that fund. And when we hit that amount, we will owe that. Anything generated above and beyond that goes into the system revenues. So we say, for instance, like he said, it was $290,000 that they expected we would save, but they're going to only guarantee $230,000. That extra, if we hit the full amount, that extra $60,000 goes back into the system, into the water sewer fund operating revenues. So it truly is never our revenue streams, because in the end, if we don't make up that guarantee, that fund, fill it, they're on the line.
So that being said, if we went $10,000 over that fund for 5 years, then we had $50,000 over that 5 years that went into our water fund for used on our discretion. Year 6, we're under by $30,000. Just because we made the $50,000 over there, it's on that specific year. The guarantee is a specific year guarantee, so we don't have to make up with it with our overages in prior years.
Escrow fund, no, it's not. Okay. It goes right to your general fund. So what that does, it's another part we're not talking about, which is real important. It's called measurement and verification, M&V, which is required by the state. Okay, so measurement verification, they say, when we go into this reconciliation account, and we have shown an M&V International Protocol, which we follow, that says, okay, here's how we derive the savings, and here's year 4, okay? And, oh my gosh, we said 231, and it's at 219. Okay, well, if we're going to be watching it every quarter, by the way, to see what's going on, because we're going to be your partners in crime here with this a bit, we're going to be working with you. So at this point, if we see it going off track, we're going to try to get it back on track. So we'll be testing, and then what we do is we actually bring back in RTS, and they're going to do anywhere from 40 to 60 meter testing per year, which you're currently doing, and double checking to make sure we've got everything's on board. So we just don't do this and walk away. And we're responsible to the state to provide those numbers every July to reconcile. So it's a unique, believe me, it's a unique transaction, but it can work really great.
Mr. Scarborough? If I may? What's the expected life of a meter?
Well, let's see. I guess you have how old's one at your house, Counselor?
The that you're talking about installed.
Yeah. The new ones really have, and help me here, Don.
They have depending on what type of meter we use, which they haven't selected yet.
Please come up to the mic.
Sorry. Depending on what type of meter we use or decide to go with will depend on the warranty or the accuracy or the lifespan of that meter. So there's a lot of different systems out there that we're looking into right now.
So when a meter breaks down, whose cost is it to fix it?
Well, the manufacturer warranties or guarantees the accuracy of that meter. So if it doesn't meet its accuracy standard, the meter would be pulled and replaced by the manufacturer's warranty that they provide. So it would likely be a city operation that would happen. So if a meter goes bad, the city would pull it and put a new one in, which would be provided by the manufacturer.
During the warranty period?
During the warranty period.
So if the warranty period is 2 years, what happens in the 3rd year?
Warranty is usually, we're looking at a 20-year meter, a 20-year warranty, which is it's a 10-year full warranty and a 10-year prorated warranty type of meter is what we're looking at. So it wouldn't be a 2-year situation. It'd be anything after 10 years, it would be prorated. So beyond that, it would still be the manufacturer's warranty. So if there is a cost to replace, that would be all written within the contract.
And how long does this financing agreement go for?
It's really to the term that pays off the principal as you see it. So there's not a set term. If we find out that we can pay this off in 12.6 years or 17.3 years, we're going to try to pay it off as fast as possible, of course, but the point is we have $237,000 a year in savings that can be put towards that. So if it's $3.1 million or $3.5 million to install, and that's the final number, we just tell how long that dollar is going to take to that payment to pay it off. So there's really no, it's not a 12-year note or a 15 exact, it's really exactly the time to get it paid off.
We do not go past the life of the meter.
The state statute says that we cannot fund anything past the useful life of that particular...
I shouldn't say useful life, because they do last longer, but the actual guaranteed term, warranted term of the meter. So, I have one other question. Sure. You're a for-profit business, correct?
Yes, sir.
So how do you make money from this?
That's a great question. I get it a lot. We make money by being the general contractor. That's how we make our money, just like any other contractual arrangement. We buy the meters, we install the meters, we have a markup on the meters. Now, because we're on the CES contract, all the pricing is completely open book. So we've already agreed to pricing standards with CES in the state.
So when you look for the meter, are you required to take the lowest price?
No, we are looking for the most efficient. That's the cool part about performance contracting. I mean, we could go with a $45 meter that's going to take you guys digging up a hole and reading it by hand. Yes, that's your low bidder. But no, we're not required by under state statute, under these procurement rules, to take the lowest bid. We're required to get the most efficient piece of equipment that's going to last the longest.
And so it's since you are a
a wholly owned subsidiary of Year Out Mechanical, it's likely that you would be buying through your mechanical company.
Yes, I mean, Year Out Mechanical has incredible resources for getting things purchased, and so, yes, we would work as a team, absolutely.
And the one thing about the CES contract, it guarantees oversight, because they have to go, it's gone out to RFP and bid through. CES is basically the schools.
Right.
So it's the school's contract.
Right.
So there's that oversight already. I mean, we did the lights through it, we did the ball fields through it.
It can be audited either way from day one, because you're using RS Means booked price. So that's what I love about RS Means is you can press a button and you can audit yourself. That's the great, and you don't have to, freak out and start sweating when the state auditors come in, because you can audit really right there and then. So it's just a very transparent process, and so I appreciate your question, because any question you have as it's put together, we're absolutely welcome to show you.
When you talk about this gross annual saving.
Yes.
Speaking of, I gotta get closer, I'm sorry. When you talk about this gross saving, you were throwing the numbers like 237,000. Is there an offset to that in payments that you receive, that the company receives?
How we do this project is we'll go out and let's say the project is $3.1 million to get everything installed and done. Okay, we get paid just like any other construction job. We get paid at 30, 60, 90 completion, and then commissioning. So that's where we get our dollars. We don't, this amount right here is the amount that goes to the funding company. Okay, so we're guaranteeing that amount, that's the savings that'll happen, but we're not getting paid that. We make our money by actually constructing the project. There's not an ongoing fee from us.
So when you determine the cost, or does the town have an engineer's estimate, or who determines the cost of this project?
What we look at is, right now, we're looking at the various solutions that'll create the most savings. What type of meter is going to work the best? What's going to really... And the great question that the councilor had earlier, you have volcanic rock here, you got very sandy water, so there's different types of meters that work better in certain conditions. And he's actually installed in Hawaii, so he's already pretty good with that. So what we look for as far as cost goes is we're going to put out an RFI for meters to see what is the best possible cost we can come up with, and it's all transparent to Mr. Brown's team in the process. So we're going to follow the best possible value, because we don't want to borrow any more money than we would have to get the project done. So we would work with the team to develop a cost for the project.
So when you seek the financing,
yes,
it's based upon, you've worked out all the specifications like a bid package.
It's very much like job contracting, like job order contracting. If we say it's $3,127.36, that's what we get financed, that's what we bring it in at.
And what say does the town have in your package, your finance package?
Well, actually, the state
says we're the debt.
Sure, the state requires us to put out a package for financing. So you have a say along the whole process of this. So if we look at, is it Green Campus Partners or Bank of America or whomever, and they all have parts and pieces that do this. We put it out there and we drive. I don't want any point to go to anybody that does, I want to make sure we get the best possible funding device for this project. And there's also another funding device that you're available to, which is the Qualified Energy Conservation Bonds. And we're looking into that right now. And so luckily, New Mexico, New Mexico got allocated $20 million. Texas got allocated $375 million. This is due to population. So there is dollars available that can buy this project down. And so right now we're looking with G.K. Baum and others to bring that to light as well, so we could actually take the effective rate of interest down to, maybe 2% in the process.
When it goes to the actual bonding, the town would be the debtor on the bond.
Well, there's no bond here. It's actually a loan. This is not going out for bond.
So the town would be the debtor on the loan.
Correct.
and the determination of the amount of the loan would be your company.
Well, we worked together with Mr. Brown's team to figure out what the best possible value would be to get the savings required to make the project work. So it's a combination of
It would be
working together.
collaborative.
Absolutely.
So in the end, basically what it is we developed the project together, we looked at all costs, we look at financing, find the best financing possible, then we're basically the debtor, but they're the cosigner. And so it does not, because we're not using any of our net system revenues of water, sewer, we still have all of our other revenues from the water sewer fund to use for debt or whatever it might be. The only thing that is ever tied up is the additional revenue generated by this project. So it just goes into that fund, and then they co-sign that we're going to make enough money to pay off that. We actually get a sample contract.
To Mr. Brown?
supposed to be looking at
Yeah,
that.
to take a look at it, and that is actually a contract developed by the state for energy performance contracts. Now, it's not very thick on the water side of it, because it's mostly building envelope, because that's what they're used to. But we have worked with them, and so we are following all AWWA water standards or above on this project.
And which license, which CID license would you be using?
There's a couple that we would pull under. It could either be our GB98 license, our mechanical license, or our GF09
And
license.
that's by the LLC or by...
We carry that license
You have it
in New
yourself?
Mexico. Yes, and so does
Councilor Benson?
RTS.
My apologies, point of privilege, I move for a short break.
We have a motion and a second for a short break. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We're in recess. Call this meeting back to order. Please continue.
Questions?
I think just the next step is that we're going to meet with the state engineer at 10 o'clock in the morning in Santa Fe. So...
Did you need any further guidance from us?
I think it was most important that we get this discussion now. It's nothing set in stone. Nothing set in stone. I just wanted to ensure that you guys know exactly, I mean, if you have any further questions, please let me know. The public, if they have any further questions, please, I want to stir up this discussion so that everybody's insured. What you're truly getting out of this is service. Better customer service in the end. But we have to use this method to get that in place. And you know, the customer service isn't what's going to satisfy ENMRD or the state engineer, it's what they've done is going to satisfy them. And so we've got to go through these processes, but as far as the public is concerned, it's a matter of customer service.
I appreciate the presentation, and I feel very comfortable with the answers. You feel comfortable with what you've seen so far, Mr. Brown?
Oh, yes, we've worked very close with them, and like I said, the town staff has actually gone out and looked at systems like this ourselves firsthand, not with them not even being involved, so they didn't have they didn't recommend who we go see or anything like that. We went out and looked at different systems and saw what potential that we have on the customer service side, and as long as they can secure and guarantee this, you know, the financing, and like I told Mr. Scavron, you know, we may only borrow $3 million and not need to borrow, I mean, have debt service of 237. We only may have debt service of 200,000. So that means there's $90,000 that goes into the water sewer fund that is not guaranteeing the payment of that debt. It's
So a lot of these numbers are conversation and education.
Once we get to those numbers, those will be brought to you for approval. The project and final numbers will be brought to you for approval.
Based on your studies, you don't see a material difference per se. You feel pretty good about...
The first project to go through New Mexico and seeing things, I tell you, we've been very conservative about the number, because the worst thing to do is walk in here and say, oh, wow, this has really changed. Part of it is that your system has already been maintained beautifully. The problem is you're maintaining product, and equipment that's old. And so it's no one's fault. It's just, and what we try to do is come up with a figure that says, what is the realized savings here? What could it be? And what we did is we kind of modeled it based upon certain different, sort of what the middle range meter would be, what it could do. And so now our next step is to, with the state, is to really develop that IGA, that investment grade audit that says, here's the exact figure, and it'll be certainly close.
Any further questions?
No, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you very much.
Next item on the agenda is appointment to the Planning and Zoning Commission. We have 2 vacancies? Is that correct, Ann? And we have 1 application, Dorothea Seidentop. Susie is what she goes by. She's applied, the chair is okay with her, has no objections. Peter Russell and Jamie Embeck have no objections. I plan on appointing her unless there are any objections here.
No objection.
I appoint Susie Seidentop to the Planning and Zoning. Next item on the agenda is approval, disapproval of changing the November 18, 2014 council meeting to another date. The November 18th meeting that's going to be an important meeting with a number of things to vote on, and Councilor Bedison is going to be traveling that day and she's not going to be available by phone, and I would like to have a full council. I will open it up for discussion or motion. Councilor Bedison?
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that we are going to discuss this, since I won't be able to be available by phone, and it is such a critical meeting on that date. So I move to change the November 18th, 2014 council meeting to Monday, November 17th, 2014, in these chambers at 6 p.m.
Councilor Emerson?
Mr. Mayor, I second that motion as stated.
We have a motion, a second, to change the November 18th, 2014 council meeting to Monday, November 17th, 2014, in these chambers at the same time. Is there any further discussion? If the room's available, everybody's available? Okay, we have a motion, a second, as read into the record. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Councilor Bedison?
Mr. Mayor, I move to adjourn.
I'll second it.
We have a motion, a second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.